Projecting new coaching hires is almost as hard as projecting high school recruits, outside of a few names who we know that have proven to be dominant, like Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and others. So now that the carousel has slowed down a bit, it hasn't stopped, but it's slowed down, we're going to take a stab at a few winners and a couple losers. Now, the winners seem pretty obvious to me. Colorado getting Deion Sanders, Wisconsin getting Luke Fickell, Louisville getting Jeff Brom, and Auburn landing Hugh Freeze are starting to look like some of the best hires that we've seen thus far this cycle. Now, on the other side, Cincinnati hiring Scott Satterfield was head-scratching to say the least, and we're going to see how Troy Taylor does leaving Sacramento State for Stanford. Should be somewhat interesting. But in reality, just like in recruiting, there will be good surprises and there will be bad surprises. There will be young coaches who have instant success, like maybe a Ryan Walters at Purdue, and some old heads that fail. Now, we always say, regardless of the matchup, that's why they play the game. You never really know what's going to happen. Well, the same can be said for coaching. At the end of the day, this is why they coach the games, regardless of speculation. I want to bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback. Some think he's David Michigan, the midnight protector of Nashville that runs around with the cape. Did a really good job last night stopping that old lady getting robbed downtown.
No crime.
Yeah, no crime. You and the Green Hawk. And my brother, apparently, Western State, Colorado, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver, current NFL free agent. I don't know, Blaine, the Packers could still need some help.
We should have been called. I mean, you want to make the playoffs or not, let's be honest. It's probably Aaron's last year. I mean, do you want another Jordy Nelson
Rumor has
on the
it
roster?
Aaron will stay.
You want another Jordy Nelson on the roster or not?
Why do you think it's Aaron's last year in Green Bay?
Because why would he stay?
That's a good point.
Why would you stay if you're Aaron Rodgers? Tell me why. Give me one reason. I'll show you a liar.
Why has he stayed up to this point?
His girlfriend's a witch.
Not anymore. Well, apparently. I mean,
Blue of Earth?
Yeah, never dated anybody.
Have you met Red of Sky yet?
Yeah, I don't know, but I met Green of Dolphin.
Don't bring them into
Chick
this.
walks around with a trident and a mermaid outfit, which could be good and bad at the same time. But back to the coaching carousel, Cone. Give me your best coaching hire this offseason.
I really like Auburn hiring Hugh Freeze, to be honest with you.
Stop. I want you to say that again.
I really like this hire. You know, the conversation that we were having for so many weeks involved the morality of it and the ethics of it. And that was a fair conversation to have when there was basically a trifecta of names that we had mentioned for the Auburn job: Hugh Freeze, Lane Kiffin, and Urban Meyer, even though most people thought they would never offer him that job and he wouldn't take it even if he were offered. It seemed like, and you had been preaching Hugh Freeze's praises for many months now. I think that it could be the best hire out of this bunch here. Now, the most interesting hire to me is obviously Deion Sanders at Colorado, just because there literally is no ceiling and there's so many unknowns. We just haven't seen the experiment run out. But I still think the same thing about Deion Sanders at Colorado. He doesn't even have to really win in order to propel him to that next huge job, because I think so many talented, I want to say free agents, transfer portal.
Well, this is the coaching has its own transfer portal.
So many guys are going to flock to Colorado with Deion Sanders that alone is going to show big-time programs that, hey, he could do this at our university. Mel Tucker went 5-7 in one season at Colorado and got the Michigan State job. So I think, Deion Sanders can do that. That's got to be the most interesting hire, but I think that Hugh Freeze could be an awesome fit on the Plains, stuck right there between Tuscaloosa and Athens. You have to do something. You have to think outside the box. You have to get a guy in there who can recruit with Nick Saban and against Kirby Smart. So I really like that hire a lot. In terms of taking a step back, I think Cincinnati probably took a step back in their hire, right? I mean, obviously it's tough to replace what Luke Fickell's been able to do there. I just don't know what they saw in Scott Satterfield that made them say this would be a home run hire for us.
Yeah, and again, that's what makes it so interesting when you look at it. Who knows once it's played on the field, but we do have some background to look at and say, all right, we think this guy's going to do this. That's what makes Deion so interesting, is there really isn't that background outside of, what he did at Jackson State, and that was impressive, but this is a different level. I want to say this one about Hugh Freeze. I'm noticing you put staff together, Phil Montgomery, the former head coach of Tulsa, now the OC there, Ron Roberts, who's been around for a while, was at Baylor. I think he's done a good job putting the staff together. It's amazing, and I said this when he got hired. All these people on Twitter and social media and in the media that were, Hugh Freeze, I'll never root for Auburn again. It's amazing. One offensive lineman's about to flip to Auburn, and all these people just have turned the page. They're just, I guess I can forgive them now, or maybe it's not that bad. It's like the same people who say they're going to leave the country after somebody gets elected, or then get off Twitter after somebody gets elected, and then they don't leave the country or get off Twitter. It's just, I don't know, it blows my mind. Hugh Freeze wins, just like with Brian Harsin, when everybody went to go to Toomer's Corner to we want Brian Harsin forever. I'll give my son for him. And then all of a sudden he start losing games, and they walk up to the athletic facility, the same people with pitchforks and torches. Now, when it comes to Deion Sanders in Colorado, to me, this is a good luck Chuck situation. This is the one before the one. Because remember the Good Luck Chuck movie, you'd hook up with Good Luck Chuck and then you'd find the person you're going to marry, whatever. This
Jessica
to me
Alba?
Seems like that. Yeah, Jessica Alba looked pretty good in that movie.
God.
She looks pretty good all the time. Neither here nor there. Reed looks great all the time as well. But this is a Good Luck Chuck situation for Deion Sanders. This is the one before he meets the one that he's going to marry. This is the bridge job. Tara Bithia is over there. He's just doing his best impression of the Maze Runner. Let me get through it. 2 years at Colorado, win 5 games, then win 7 games, then get on out of here. Call Mel Tucker and ask him. He couldn't get out of Colorado fast
So you
enough.
think he'll go to another place after this and stay there for a long time?
I think that it'll be a big time brand in college football.
Ooh.
I think it'll
Where?
be after 2 years, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to be open? I got a feeling, the Ohio State situation is really interesting to me with Ryan Day. If he doesn't beat Michigan next year, I think it's going to get a little iffy. But whether that's Florida State right now, guys, especially
Not
after what we talked
happening.
about yesterday,
Yeah.
I don't think Florida State's happening for a while. But it's not just Florida State with Deion. I mean, there's a bunch of brands out there, and after 2 or 3 years, you never know what's going to happen. I just don't see Deion Sanders, if it works out well, staying at Colorado for 10 years and turning them into.
Well, that's why I was kind of I like the Matt Rule hire, but I was kind of surprised that we didn't see Deion Sanders at Nebraska. I thought if anybody, Nebraska, what did you need? You needed a big face, a guy who can recruit. Because after Nebraska's losing recruits. Hell, Huddle started there. That would be that guy. It would be Deion Sanders. So was I surprised a little bit? But do I still think they had a good hire for sure? A couple of hires I'm watching. I like the UNLV Barry Odom hire.
I'm interested to see
I
how
think
Barry
he's going to
does.
do well there, and I like the Kenny Dillingham hire at Arizona State from Oregon. You saw Oregon's offense get a lot better.
I like that one a lot.
So
too.
I think that one's going to be a good hire. I like
they
Jamie
need
Chadwell,
they need a
Liberty.
good hire.
Here's what I think you're going to see with Arizona State, because Kenny Dillingham is a young coach. Hell, I think he just called plays for the first time a couple of years ago, or maybe even this year with Oregon. The hardest thing for young coaches, because 99% of coaches are responsible for one side of the ball or the other, when they're coordinators, whatever, offensive or defensive. Kenny Dillingham has been the offensive guy. Now he's calling plays, getting into his bag. The hardest part is to still be effective as a play caller, if that's what you want to do, but you've got to convince the team that you're the head coach, not the offensive coordinator. At practice, you can't just spend all your time hyping up the offense or getting excited if something good happens for the offense. You're the head coach. You've got to find a way to be able, that to me is one of the best traits that a legitimate head coach can have, whether it's young or old, whether you were a defensive coordinator for 15 years and then were a head coach, or vice versa as an offensive coordinator. It's being able to say, guys, listen, I am as excited when the defense makes a play as I am with the offense. Some guys kind of get lost in translation. If I was ever a head coach, I would have days. I would pick days of the week. Like, all right, Monday, guys, I'm heavy on the offense. I mean, we need to go out there and kick their ass a little bit. Tuesdays, defense, I'm on the other side. Like, I think that would work a little bit better than just overlapping too much of 70% offense, 30% defense. I was part of a staff that happened on, and all of a sudden, that defensive coordinator, those defensive players start to look at him like the head coach. And any riffs and that gives his ego a little bit inflated. I'm telling you, I've seen it can eat a locker room from the inside out. I've seen it. It's almost like a parent liking one child more than the other. Like, that builds resentment. It really builds resentment. So that's what I'm interested to see with Kenny Dillingham being able to flip that switch.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And Arizona State is just primed for it. Because there were so many cultural issues, which that can be fixed immediately if you come in there with the right attitude and the right staff. On the Hugh Freeze point that I made, obviously we're talking about best and worst. I'm just talking about best and worst in terms of ability to go in and win football games. Obviously he's already been vetted and hired. So the ethical argument to me is sort of, we're beyond that unless that's a hill that certain fans want to die on.
We're beyond that unless he starts losing, and then that's going to be brought up.
Or continues his behavior. That's something else that I've said. Like, if this is like repeated behavior, but if all of Hugh Freeze's mistakes are in the past, then that's something that I believe the fan base will move on from. Also, I think it's worth talking about Wisconsin. I'm still perplexed at Wisconsin. I think they moved on from a good football coach in Paul Chryst, got another good football coach in Luke Fickell, and in the meantime, you had a guy in Jim Leonhard who was apparently the coach in waiting. I'm perplexed by the situation.
I think this is a great decision by Wisconsin. You end up getting.
I think
Fickell.
Wisconsin won this one a lot. Again, like I said the other week when this hire was made, this to me is like the guy who wants to be an actor, dated his high school sweetheart, all the way through college. They've been together for 6 years. He's struggling. They're not making a lot of money, but they love each other. Grilled cheese sandwiches. Look me in the eyes. While we're eating grilled cheese sandwiches, or the spaghetti noodle. Oh no, it's the same one. But then all of a sudden, you get a part in Yellowstone and you blow up, and Selena Gomez's Instagrams you, and then you just disappear. You're like, honey, we have to break up. Like, that's what it feels like for Luke Fickell.
So in that analogy,
the
first high school sweetheart is that Paul Chryst?
No, it's Cincinnati.
This is Luke Fickell's side.
Yes.
Okay, so on
Cincinnati.
Wisconsin side, in the analogy, who is Paul Chryst and who is Jim Leonard?
Okay, well, if we're gonna use the people as the part of the analogy, because I was saying that Cincinnati was the high school.
Is it one of the horses?
If you want to reverse this and say that Wisconsin did it to Paul Chryst, you could say that Wisconsin
or
did
Jim
that to
Leonard.
Paul Chryst.
Like, what if they were telling him, "Hey, you're the guy. We're going to go ahead and move."
Oh, they
on
were
Paul
for
Chryst.
sure. They were.
You're the guy.
Well, Jim Leonard was the mistress that Wisconsin was going to see.
Now I see.
On the side while the wife was doing laundry or whatever, and all this, he told the mistress, "Hey, we're going to be together. I promise. We're going to be together." Then all of a sudden, the wife finds out about the mistress, and then Selena Gomez Instagrams you.
Selena Gomez Instagrams you.
Yes. I never thought I would be comparing Wisconsin.
Yeah, if I was
Selena
ever
Gomez.
married, my wife better not get mad if Selena Gomez slides.
Well, let me go and tell you, buddy. She will.
She will.
Yeah,
rightfully so.
Yeah.
Thank Brad
Rightfully
Pitt
so.
slid in hers. I'm like, look, I respect it.
No, you wouldn't.
I respect
you-
it again.
Also, it's worth talking about Ryan Walters coming over to Purdue,
Yep.
the former DC at Illinois. They were first in the country in fewest points allowed on the defensive side of the ball, Illinois. Second in fewest yards allowed. Some of that's a little bit skewed given that they were in the Big Ten West, but still, I think this guy's going to have
Now, if you
success,
watched
too.
Illinois play at all, you saw how disciplined that defense was, how hard they played, how physical they were. Ryan Walters was a guy we highlighted all year. Him and Zach Arnett, who now with the situation at Mississippi State, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I think Ryan Walters is one of the up-and-coming stars in coaching.
Gotcha.
I think he is a Marcus Freeman, young Kirby, not saying he's going to have that defensive mindset that can recruit,
Okay.
that knows how to talk, understands social media, kind of that new wave of young coaches in that Lane Kiffin mold as well, just from understanding the value of social media in recruiting. I think he's going to do well at Purdue. I was very excited. I always love it when a young defensive guy gets a chance. Always love it when we always see young offensive guys getting hired, go install your system or throw it around. Hey, here we go. Throw to grass. It's
always something with
I
young
love to see it
defensive
when a
guys.
young defensive guy,
I love it.
I
tell you what.
I tell you
what.
man.
Defensive guy?
Defending
you
national
what,
champs, defense.
Hey, YouTube, what's up? Really appreciate you guys checking us out. Make sure while you're here, you hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on, and hit that like on some of these videos. Find us on all social media platforms as well. I think it's a sports show that if you gave up on sports, we're going to fire back up the love train when it comes down to sports. Make sure you keep following us.